Good morning, everybody. So I'd like to talk to you about a few things I've been thinking about recently. Number one, on maturity and bearing injustice. One of our kids, we have endless children, one of our kids sent us this cool thing recently about a great definition of what it means to be mature. And I felt pretty good when I read it because I'm kind of getting there. Okay, here we go. This is the definition. The ability to stick with a job until it's finished. The ability to do a job without supervision. The ability to carry money without spending it. I think I'm doing better on this, but my husband's not here. He's out doing Sunday school. Don't ask him what he thinks. The ability to bear injustice without wanting to get even. This last one is hard for me. I think you may remember the last time I spoke, I talked about something that I had said that deeply offended one of our sons and his partner. And I apologized and then shut up. It was so hard. I just wanted so badly to explain to them that what I said really wasn't that offensive. But I didn't. I managed to stay quiet. And yet was here another opportunity for me to bear mild injustice without getting even. Perhaps you've been there too. Second thing, on a very Canadian moment. I love being a Canadian. A few weeks ago, on a really hot day, I was at Durant's Lake, and an RCMP officer came down to the beach and said to everybody, "May I have your attention?" in the most charming French-Canadian accent. He said, "Some of you have parked on Durant's Lake Road. Durant's Lake Road is the very narrow one with big no parking signs all along the road. Parking on the sides of this road is dangerous for all the people who parked up on the main road where they're supposed to as they walk down to the lake. We are now going to start towing illegally parked cars. But if you hurry, you can move your car away before we get to it. Thank you for your attention." Isn't that lovely? Where else in the world did the police warn you before they enforce the law? I love that spirit of grace. Number 3, on life after death. John 14:1-3 says, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, I would have told you, and I am going there to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, so that you may be where I am." My dad was a doctor, and over the first 10 years or so of his practice, he had 3 different patients tell him about their near-death experiences. When he heard the first one, he thought, I don't know, he thought the guy was kind of nuts, or a lack of oxygen or something like that. No, not nuts, but not in his right mind. And then he heard a second guy who told almost an identical story, and then this woman who told him, and he finally realized, maybe something's happening here. In 1975, around that time, Dr. Raymond Moody published a book called Life After Life. It's a collection of accounts of near-death experiences. Most people who have those experiences tell it leaves them with a really assured sense of faith and the assurance that life continues on after death. Even atheists report having near-death experiences. Apparently, 40% of some people in China who were very seriously injured in an earthquake had near-death experiences where they met God. Can you imagine what a shock that would be to them? Someone told me once about their experience, and they were driving down the Pat Bay Highway on a dark, rainy night, and their car just hydroplaned right off the highway. You know, by where that new big overpass thing is, like that, right there, went down the embankment into the trees and where nobody could see it. Now, thankfully, somebody heard something and went to check it out. Otherwise, nobody would have found her because you couldn't see the car from the road. And she survived. But she had a big near-death experience. And she said that when she recovered from the accident, she was actually quite depressed for about a year or two. Said life on earth paled in comparison to what she had experienced in heaven, and she just didn't really want to be here on earth anymore. She wanted to go back. She was young. So last month, I read about a near-death experience of a fellow. It was a really long, precise, complicated account of what happened to this guy when he was clinically dead for 7 minutes when he was age 21. I was disturbed. Let me tell you why. I've always liked the whole going towards the light and the love and all that kind of stuff. But then he said that Jesus of all people, told him that we all have multiple lives to live. The fellow was pretty surprised himself because, as he said afterwards, I'm a Catholic and we do not believe in this whole multiple lives things. I myself am not crazy about the multiple lives either. I find life challenging sometimes, and my life is pretty easy compared to a lot of people here on planet Earth. The idea of having to live out multiple lives seemed to me kind of tiring. I like my life and all, but I'm looking forward to just hanging around with Jesus in heaven and not feeling confused about my faith all the time. I really like Jesus, and I can't wait to meet him in person, so to speak. And all the dead people I know, I'm looking forward to seeing them too. When my own mom was getting close to death, and she knew that, I asked her, who are you looking forward to seeing in heaven, Mom? And she goes, well, I know I should say my own mother, but it's not true. Her mom, my grandmother, was not the cuddliest of souls. Number 5, on moving beyond fear. One thing I don't miss from my evangelical days, where I was about 25 years ago, was the certainty I had about everything. It was so great to know I was right all the time. Fear of death, fear of the world. There was so much fear that if I didn't tell everyone about Jesus, they were all going to hell, and it was my fault. Fear of AIDS. I once heard James Dobson say on his Focus on the Family show that we were all going to die of AIDS eventually. Fear of Pokemon cards, because Pokemon in Japanese means pocket devil or pocket demon, and who would allow their children to walk around with demons in their pockets? Fear of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. One of our sons asked me the other day, so why was it again I wasn't allowed to watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when I was a kid? I said, I really have no idea. But something about it scared me at the time. And he said to me, that idea is kind of silly, Mom. And I said, yeah, I know that now. I'm sorry. Like most parents, I was doing the best I knew how at the moment. If I were to go back, I'd parent our kids differently. I'd let them watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and play with Pokemon cards, but we can't go back. So what I've offered to do for our kids is to pay for counseling to undamage all the harm that we have done, and actually one of us has already taken us up on the offer. I met with someone this week for spiritual mentoring, and she gave me this permission to tell you this really wild story from her youth that engendered so much fear and confusion in her life. She told me that when she was in her late teens, her pastor was putting on a healing service. So the people in the church were told to bring a picture of themselves when they were children. So she brought her picture, and when the pastor looked at her picture, he said, "Well, obviously, you've been unhappy since you were a child. You certainly look unhappy in this picture." And so she explained to him that she had ongoing trouble with depression since she was about 12. The pastor went on to tell her, "Somehow you have let Satan in your life, and those satanic demons within you are causing the depression." How terrifying. And then he said to her, "Don't you own that VW van out in the parking lot that has Grateful Dead stickers on it with skulls?" She's like, he said, "That's what the problem is. Get rid of those skull stickers on your car and stop listening to satanic rock music, and your depression will go away." Guess what? Didn't work. Just made her feel more terrible about herself and afraid of God. Fear makes us small. Fear makes us controlling, and it is not from God. Number 6, on the gift of slowness. There's a line out of the movie The Sound of Music that I love. Someone in the movie asks Captain Von Trapp, "How are you?" And he replies, "Well, my life is very busy, therefore my life must have purpose and meaning." Hate to break it to you, but a busy life does not guarantee a life filled with purpose and meaning. Have any of you heard of the desert's mothers and fathers of the 3rd century? Matt has. Those people chose to go out into the desert to live a more holy life. And they were thought to be answering the call that Jesus gave in Matthew 19:21. Jesus said, "If you wish to be perfect, go, sell your possessions and give the money to the poor, and you will have treasures in heaven. Then come, follow me." One of those desert mothers had a quote, and it was, "Just as the bird who abandons her eggs prevents them from hatching, so the monk or nun grows cold when they go from one place to another." She is counseling us not to run from ourselves. She is encouraging us to stay faithfully with whatever new life is being hatched in us. Personally, I find this really difficult. I think that God is trying to hatch something new in me in the moment, and I hate it. And I'm very tempted to just run away from the situation. Hatching stuff is hard work, and I'm saying this more to myself than I am to you. It's the universal temptation for us all to miss our own lives by living on the surface. Our culture worships speed. Things like fast food, fast cars, speed dating. But speed robs us of depth. We miss the scenery, and worse, we miss the meaning. Most of the time we don't even realize, because we are marinated in the culture of speed. We are thoroughly and compulsively immersed in the rat race. But what we forget is that even if you win the rat race, you're still a rat. Flannery O'Connor said, "Most people think that faith is a big electric blanket, when of course it is the cross. It is much harder to believe than to not believe." Going deep with God teaches us that faith is costly and worth it. Number 7, on the spiritual practice of practicing slowness. Why not practice slowness right now? Why not practice sitting in the presence of God, being slow? Lucky ducks. That's what we're going to do right here, right now, if you want to. If you're not interested in this, just think about something else, and you've heard me say many times, just try it. You can always hate it afterwards. This spiritual practice is called Christian meditation. Psalm 49:3 says, "My mouth shall speak wisdom. The meditation of my heart shall be understanding." So, we are going to do something simple that's very hard. We are going to sit in silence for 5 minutes. That's all you have to do. Just sit quietly for 5 minutes. Personally, I find it helpful to close my eyes because I am so easily distracted by anything. And I also like saying a phrase that I align with my breath. You say it in your head, not out loud. Currently, I'm using the phrase, slow down, sink in. In my head, I say, slow down as I breathe in, and, Nope, yeah, that's right. I say slow down as I breathe in and sink in as I breathe out. I promise you, your ego is going to try and distract you, and a million super important thoughts are going to come into your head. Just try to ignore them and go back to breathing in and out and saying your chosen words. I promise you, if you practice this enough, your life will have more purpose and meaning, as well as some deep, deep peace. Or as Lily Tomlin said, for fast-acting relief, try slowing down. Okay, we're going to start the meditation right now.